Go.
Hi, welcome to Team Shazam's presentation for Week 3 Assignment and Portfolio Web Conference under the guidance of Dr. Elwood. A little bit about us. My name is Shamira Henry, and this is my first course in the IDET program.
My name is Savannah Payne, and this is also my first course in the IDET program. I plan on graduating in the spring of 2024.
Presentation overview. Today, I will present assignment 5 in my team member.
Savannah Payne. I'm going to be doing number 6.
For assignment 5, I will go over evaluation and instructional design, a comparison of the major evaluation models, and introduction to return on investment, ROI infographic. There are 5 major evaluation models: Rossi's 5-domain evaluation model, Kirkpatrick's training evaluation model, Brinkoff's success evaluation model, Payton's utilization focus evaluation model, and Shufflebeam's CIPP model. Today, I will be going over the models that are underlined. We'll begin with the Rossi's 5-domain evaluation model. The 5-domain evaluation model is tailored to the needs of a program. The first domain is assessment of need for a program. So an evaluator will assess if a program is needed in a particular context. The second domain is assessment of program design and theory. This is where the evaluator would answer a question: is the program designed in the way that it will work to meet the goal that was set in domain 1? Domain 3 is assessment of program progress, process, and implementation. The evaluator will answer a question: was the program implemented correctly? Domain 4, assessment of program outcome and impact. This is where the evaluator will determine if there is an impact, if the impact has been met based on the target it was intended to meet. Domain 5 is assessment of program cost and efficiency. So this is where the evaluator will answer the question: is the program cost effective, and does the cost outweigh the benefits of the program? The next is Brinkoff's success case method. The success case method, also known as SCM, involves identifying the most and least successful cases in a program and examining them in detail. Step 1, identify program and plan a success case study with stakeholders. So this is where the evaluator will determine what program needs to be created for the environment, as well as what is the plan of success looks like with that program. The next step is create an impact model that defines what the program success should look like. So this is where the evaluator uses a 3-column graphic organizer. On the left side, they write capabilities. In the middle, they write the program's behavior. And on the right side, they write the business goal. So in each category, they list what that looks like in terms of success for that program. Step 3 is design and conduct a survey to identify the best and worst cases. So after the program is implemented, they choose participants and they collect data to determine which one actually implemented what the program was training them to do and which ones didn't. This 4th step is to schedule an interview with multiple success and non-success cases. So Brinkoff believes in having a clear picture on both sides of the story. With the success, they record what worked well with the program, and for non-success cases, they collect data of the barriers or what just didn't work well with the program. For step 5, it's to document and communicate findings in a detailed narrative. This is one of my favorite steps of the program. I liked how instead of just throwing numbers at the stakeholders, they actually form a narrative based off of the perspective of the participants. And so this helps the stakeholders to determine if the program was successful, and it also gives them an opportunity to dig deeper into the program. The next evaluation is Stufflebeam's CIPP model. The CIPP model is a decision-oriented model that identifies a program's limitations and strengths. So it begins with the context evaluation that focuses on the intended goals of the program. So these goals could be beneficiaries, needs, resources, problems, background, or environment. The second phase is the input evaluation phase, where stakeholders as well as evaluators, they come together to figure out what needs to be implemented for the program to be successful. One thing I forgot to mention is the stakeholder will stay throughout the entire process of the CIPP model. The next phase is the process evaluation. The process phase is when the program is examined for refinements, and they also implement those refinements and get feedback from the participants. The next stage is the product evaluation. This phase is where the evaluator and the stakeholders determine whether the intended goal was met. They determine the impact that the program had, its effectiveness, transferability, sustainability, and adjustment. Next is going to be the introduction to return on investment ROI graphic organizer. The return on investment is an accountability measure used in business to evaluate and infer the performance of an investment. So it uses the following calculation: ROI equals the program benefits minus the program cost divided by the program cost times 100 will give it a percentage. I read 3 articles, and from the articles, I came up with inquiry-based questions. The first article I read was extend your training evaluation to include the Phillips ROI model. My question for this from this article is, in level 4 of the Kirkpatrick's model, how are the impacts of business determined without doubt when drawing a conclusion to its relationship with the training course? The complete Phillips ROI model tutorial for beginners article, I came up with 2 questions. The first question is, when level 3 of the Phillips ROI model identifies an issue with application or implementation, does it allow the program to immediately make adjustments before the ROI is calculated? The next question is, how does the efficiency conclude that external factors are not contributors to the effectiveness of the ROI method? The third article is ROI Institute's methodology. My question is, how are intangible measures calculated with the return on investment? And these are my references here.
All right. So I should share my screen now. All right. So I want to thank you for staying tuned in for assignment 6, where we're going to talk about Intro to Learning Analytics and On-Site Virtual Project Management. Today, I have made a reflective journal, and I am going to use Lumio to present my talking points. For those of you who haven't used Lumio before, it is an excellent tool that allows you to annotate and write as you need or highlight as you're presenting. So learning analytics, we're going to have an overview of what learning analytics are, type of analytic tools, the types of data, intended use, and concerns. So first of all, what learning analytics are, also cool. Learning analytics is the calculation, accumulation, reporting data about learners' context after the process. So what that means is that after you assess them, that you're going to use the data to figure out how to remediate whatever you need. Oftentimes, teachers walk around the class taking all sorts of data all of the time. And so you can walk around giving little checks saying, hey, great job. But learning analytics is a new study that came out. It was developed from prediction text. So whenever you go to type a question into Google and you start your question and Google has several rows of types of question and you're like, oh, that one, that's prediction text. The same as when you text your friends and it predicts. Learning analytics has several different types of analytics where we are looking for descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. We're not going over all of those today, but those are different types. The type that we're going to focus on are the types related to education. So types of analytic tools are Blackboard, Canvas, Google Classroom, Imagine Learning, Moodle, Skyward, Home Access Center, Eduphoria. Basically, any kind of educational platform, digital platform that collects data about students and a teacher looks for the data. So for instance, whenever you do an assignment on Blackboard and it turns in, you automatically get a notification. The teacher gets a notification. There's other things built in, such as the announcements and messages, and analytic tools actually collect data for how many times that you view something or use a certain tool. Those are the LMS tools. There's other things that are instructor design. And that is where, for instance, if you build a quiz in Canvas and you have students taking a quiz, you can see how long that they've been on. Sorry, this is my support puppy. Sorry about that. You can see how long that a student has been on a particular question, and you can figure out if they got it right or if they've used their accommodations. So we've already discussed some of the types of data. I just want to zoom in. This was a chart given in the book. And so LMS tools, again, those are number of page views, action taken, number of messages to the instructor, date and time, number of on time, late or missed assignments, assignment outcomes, and grades. Instructor generated data would be, again, number of emails, type of content, social network, the quizzes and assignments that I spoke of. So the reason why that type of data is important, because it directly correlates to student success. The more a student participates in a class, the more likely they are to have a higher retention rate. Of course, the less participation, generally leads to a lower grade and possible dropout. So the intended use of the data should be so that teachers can see, hey, this student's not logging in this week. I need to email them and check to make sure they're okay. Or, hey, they're not doing so well on this particular type of question. Maybe I should have a conversation with them or pair them with another student that is learning well. So concerns. The concerns are that with analytical data, that students will see a lack of interpersonal skills, which basically means that they're looking at negative data, or they're looking at the data negatively. A misuse of the data would be if you're lording it over, or saying, oh, well, these students got an 80. I don't know why you have a 27. So that's a strong misuse of data. It's counterproductive to what the education system should be looking for. It could also be ethically skewed. And ethically skewed data generally relates to gifted and talented, always do this. Our African American students always do this. Or our special ed always do this. Of course, there's some sort of data should be collected, but it should not get ethically skewed and used against certain populations of students. The biggest fear is Big Brother. You see students and parents even cover their camera by putting stickers and tape and sticky notes over the camera lenses on their laptops and their cell phones. And of course, Big Brother's watching. So before we move on to on-site and virtual project management, I just want to wrap this up by saying that the best way to use analytical tools and data is to make sure that you are using them appropriately to provide intervention to your students. So you see them struggling on the spot, and then you can help them on the spot instead of waiting 3 weeks until your assignment's graded. So now we're going to discuss on-site and virtual project management. One of my favorite quotes from this chapter was about 1 minute management. And 1 minute management was where when a manager felt like something was wrong, a reprimand had to come about. The manager would, in 1 minute or less, describe the issue and describe the expectation, tell their employee how valued and loved they are and what a valuable team member that they are with all of their contributions, and then move on. I absolutely love that because I like to keep that in mind as I'm going through my day. So an overview of this chapter is we're going to talk about management and leadership, communication, teams, virtual management skill, and essential skills. So what I truly liked here, when I first came in and I started thinking about management and leadership, I thought to myself, well, all a manager really has to do is set a budget and make sure everybody, like, hey, I need you to get your job done, get your job done. Well, no, there's so much more that goes into it. A manager, a project manager has to have emotional intelligence, or the ability to understand their emotions and other people's emotions. They have to have communication skills. They have to be able to delegate. If you cannot properly delegate your task out to other people and not micromanage them, then you are not going to get your project done. You have to be able to motivate others. You have to be a strategic thinker. How are you going to get the project done in a timely manner? You have to have integrity. Now, this was something that was near and dear to my heart. I truly love this so much. Integrity are leaders who prioritize fairness and honesty and create an environment of trust. I felt like more managers need to read that and they need to internalize that for themselves, because being a project manager does not mean that you are lord and ruler. It means that you are team captain and you want to create a winning team. How are you going to do it? You have to have your team trust you. You also have to be flexible, especially whenever we come to the globalization age where we might have employees working virtually. So the next thing that I want to talk about is our team members. We have production staff. We have our instructional designers. By the way, production staff are our writers, editors, graphic designers, our artists, our creators, right? And our instructional designers are responsible for research, designing, developing the project. Then, of course, you need your assistant project managers that help give directions and procedures to other employees for you. You're going to have your subject matter experts. For instance, you need to do a project instructional design on mathematics. Your subject matter expert is going to be a mathematician, but they might not necessarily have all the skills that it takes to actually develop and create an instructional platform. Of course, you are going to need to be able to communicate with the client clearly and precisely. You're going to have to understand how to meet all the client's needs. And then also, as you reevaluate the project with the client and the client wants to alter the plans, you're going to have hard conversations with the client about timelines and costs, because they're not going to want to hear that it's going to take 3 weeks longer to complete or that it's going to cost $5,000 more. Management usually has regular scheduled meetings. And then the one that kind of took me by surprise a little bit as I was reading this, I didn't really think about it that much, but you're going to want to talk to your end user at the beginning. It should be a beginning user instead of an end user. But the end user is going to provide you with the information that you are going to need to be able to actually make a valid project. So what we're looking at here when we look at this picture is we are actually seeing the most communication is going to be between the project manager and the instructional designer. The next thickest line is going to be with the assistant project manager and the SMEs. If you will recall, those SMEs are your subject matter experts. So teams, when you are building a team, you have to get everybody to work together simultaneously. And you need them to be a well-oiled machine. And there's kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end stage to that. At the very beginning, you must set norms, roles, and goals. So you have to state what the norms are, what it's going to look like that everybody is going to have a Monday meeting, that everybody is going to type their ideas on this slide, that you didn't complete your slide. So who's going to be responsible for that? Well, that's when we're going to identify our roles. Of course, we are going to need to set our goals so that everybody knows the outcome that they are moving towards. So a project manager's role in this is to motivate their team and give them a positive purpose to keep moving forward, especially whenever you're dealing with creative thinkers who have a hard time generating creativity on demand. So project managers must be able to take charge on day one. So virtual instructional project management. It's really, really important that even though that you're meeting virtually, that you continue to have virtual meetings, as we are now with our webinar, where we're meeting virtually and have virtual teams collaborate on a document, so that way that you can still go through. Well, you don't want to make, or you want to make sure that you don't accidentally isolate anybody. So once you get to the point where everybody's doing a great job, even virtually, you're going to need to provide feedback to people, because if you're working with partners in Japan and Oregon and Florida, you're still going to need to make sure that they understand that you're looking at their work, that you value them, that they're participating. And then furthermore, after you get to the point where everything is going smoothly and everybody is handling their end of the job, you want to still make sure that you do not isolate them, because once they're in their job, you don't want them to get static. You want to keep them motivated as you go. So to wrap this up, project managers' essential skills must be able to communicate verbally and written. You must have interpersonal skills and be able to read people emotionally and be able to build people up when necessary. You should also have a design background so that you can provide support to your actual designers. And then you've got to be able to motivate those teams. So we want to thank you for watching or listening, completed under the guidance of Dr. Elwood. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you.